Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into one of the biggest questions we're all facing in tech. How should we think about AI? And we're going to do it through the eyes of a really unique learning community that decided to figure this out for themselves.
I mean, AI is just everywhere, and it's a lot. Is it a threat, a massive opportunity, or maybe just a whole lot of noise? It can feel pretty overwhelming. Well, a group of programmers decided they needed to tackle this question head-on.
Okay, so let's dive in. To really get a handle on their answer, you first have to understand the group that was even asking the question in the first place, a place called the Recurse Center.
So the Recurse Center, it's not your typical school. Think of it more like a writer's retreat, but for programmers. There are no teachers, no set curriculum. It's all about self-discovery and learning by doing. And this very unique place, well, it found itself right in the middle of some really practical, very real AI dilemmas.
Yeah, this wasn't some abstract thought experiment for them. AI was popping up everywhere. I'm talking about their admissions process, how people learn during the retreats, and even what makes someone hireable afterwards. They really needed to figure out where they stood on the matter.
And how do you tackle a question that big? Well, they did what they do best. They turned inward, to their own community, this incredible network of almost 3,000 programmers. And right at the start, they made a really smart call. They decided, look, let's not get bogged down in the huge, messy political debates about AI. Instead, they focused laser-sharp on what they know. What's the real, tangible impact on a programmer's daily life, on their career? So they put together this AI advisory group. And the key here is how they built it. This wasn't about finding people who all agreed. No way. They went out of their way to find folks from all different backgrounds, different roles, and most importantly, with a whole range of different views on AI, the goal was to get past the usual shouting you see online and find some real, thoughtful nuance.
And what came back? Honestly, it was pretty surprising, because it turns out even some of the smartest programmers out there, they just could not agree on where AI is at today.
You had these incredibly sharp senior developers who'd look at the current tools, the LLMs, and they were just not impressed. They basically said, yeah, these things are pretty unhelpful, and I don't see them changing my day-to-day job much in the next few years. And then, in the very same breath, they talked to someone else, another developer whose entire world had been turned upside down by these tools. We're talking about people whose job is now mostly just reviewing code that AI writes, or even one person who now programs almost entirely by voice using Claude. I mean, wow. So you see the split, right? This is the key takeaway here. It's not a simple for or against debate. You have brilliant, highly skilled people having completely different, almost opposite experiences with the very same technology. Right now. Today. So, why? Why the huge disagreement? Well, after digging in, they pinpointed three main reasons. It really boils down to 1, how much you've actually used the latest tools, 2, the kind of work you do. Think web development versus deep systems programming. And 3, the type of code base you're working with. A small new project is a world away from a massive, old, complex one. Okay, so that's productivity. But where the conversation got really interesting, and maybe even more complicated, was when it shifted from how fast can we code to how do we learn?
And one of the alums came up with this analogy that just hits the nail on the head. They compared using LLMs to riding an e-bike. If your goal is just to get from point A to point B as fast as possible, hey, an e-bike is fantastic. But if your goal is to actually get stronger, to become a better cyclist, the e-bike isn't really helping you with that, is it? And that right there is the core tension.
So you had this split view. On one side, people saw AI as this amazing patient tutor. You can ask it all the dumb questions you'd be embarrassed to ask a person. But on the other side, there's this real danger it becomes a crutch, right? That you just bypass the struggle where the real learning happens. It removes all the friction, but what if some of that friction is exactly what you need to grow?
But with all this back and forth, all these different opinions on tools and workflows, there was one thing, one single idea that everyone, and I mean everyone they talked to, completely agreed on.
And it's this: no matter what tools you're using, your deep, fundamental understanding of how things work, that's what matters. Your mental models of the systems you're building on, how an OS works, how the internet works, that knowledge is more valuable now than it has ever been.
Okay, so you've got all this complex, messy, even contradictory feedback. What do you do with it?
How do you turn that into something people can actually use? Well, that's what Recurse Center did next. They distilled it all down into a set of clear, actionable principles.
And their whole approach is grounded in this quote from the educator John Holt. The idea is simple but powerful. You can't just hand someone knowledge. You can give them facts, lists, but you can't give them your understanding. They have to build their own. It's an active process.
And that core idea led them to these 3 guiding principles. They call them self-directives, which is a great name for them. A framework for how to think and act in a world with AI.
Okay, principle number 1, work at your edge. What does that mean? It means use AI. Use it to push yourself, to see what you're capable of. But, and this is a big but, always make sure that your own understanding keeps up. Don't let a gap open up between what you can make the AI produce and what you actually truly get.
Number 2, build your volitional muscles. Volition is just a way of saying your will, your ability to make choices and act on them. Look, an LLM can spit out an answer to any question, but only you can decide which questions are worth asking. The goal is to use AI to help you achieve what you want to do, not to let it decide for you. And finally, number 3, learn generously. This is so important. Be open about how you're learning. Share your process, your successes, your failures, and be curious about how other people are doing it, whether they're using AI or not. When the machines get this powerful, connecting with other humans, with your community, becomes more crucial than ever.
So at the end of the day, the answer isn't a simple yes or no to AI. It's really a challenge for all of us. The question isn't if you'll use these tools, but how. How are you going to use them to amplify your own ambitions and not just give away your own agency?